afternoon, YouTube. This is man always George Page, aka the Emperor of Female Body Talk, coming to you live on YouTube. Well, folks, God, seemed like we just started the month. Last week here in the States, we had Thanksgiving, and now we just got one more day left, and November is gone, and we have one more month. It's gonna before long it'll be Christmas. I mean, Christmas was great when I was a kid. Having good times. Then we get growing up, had to buy kids gifts. But I'm lucky for me. Everybody's grown. Only person I bought was my mother. She's gone, and I miss her. But Christmas was her thing, and she always had to put a tree in the house, and I don't see. That's Christmas for the kids. So anyway, here. I have a lovely lady here who just competed about a few weeks ago. She is from the UK, and I love the ladies from Great Britain. There's some beautiful ladies that come from that country. Amazing female bodybuilders. The list is long of traditional ladies that come from that country. She just competed at a show. She was competing for a pro card, but I don't know, circumstances didn't happen to her. She's a coach, a trainer, and I think she's somebody whose story will really impact people who are interested. We have here the lovely Miss Clara Crowther, if I got the name right. Yeah, all right. Thank you, appreciate it. And I'm a player from the Himalayas. And I'm an international player, guy. I love getting you girls from across the seas and talking to her. So, Claire, we like to welcome you to the live, and we like to ask you this question. I ask all you ladies, what does a lovely lady like yourself get into sport of what we call muscle and masculinity? Please share.
Well, it's a bit of a long story, really. I mean, I've been bodybuilding now since 2015. Prior to that, I was actually very overweight and decided to sort of embark on a weight loss journey to shed a few pounds. And it just became like the gym and the fitness and everything just became something that was such a big, massive part of my life then, that then it was kind of like once I'd lost the weight, what's the next goal going to be? What am I going to go for next? Now I've ditched the excess pounds. What do I want to now achieve? So from that, I decided to look into competing and started looking into different shows and things like that. And I always favored like the fuller looks. So like the looks like figure and women's physique and all that sort of thing. So that was always my favorite kind of physique. But at that time, I just didn't have the muscle. So at the beginning of my competing journey, I actually started in bikini. So I did that for a couple of seasons. Didn't really enjoy doing bikini. I enjoyed the stage and I enjoyed like being involved in that world. But bikini was never really me. And I always looked up to the other girls and thought, right, I want to go up into different categories here. So I took a year out in 2018 to grow and then came back in 2019 into figure. And I did figure for 3 seasons. Well, 2 seasons really, because COVID kind of happened in the middle and that took a season out. So yeah, so that was a bit of a kick in the, in the backside really. So it wasn't very nice, but it was what it was. And there was nothing we could do. There was no shows. We couldn't get in the gym. So, it was just a case of, take the year out and wait until everything kind of calms down. So 2020 didn't happen. 2021, I came back into figure. 2020, and I did the UK Arnold's, the first UK Arnold's in 2021, which was a brilliant experience. Really, really great experience. Won my class then, just narrowly missing out on the pro card again. Came back in 2022 and moved up into women's physique. So that was the first year that I did women's physique, which was at the end of last season, and then kind of just focused mainly on that going forward from then. Came back this year, obviously into women's physique again. I did 5 shows this year, placed first in 4 of them and third in 1 that I did in Germany. So I've been all over Europe and everything competing this year. It's been a great experience. And yeah, so that's basically how I managed to get into it.
Yeah, it wasn't that long, but thank you, Sharon. But yeah, I know it's like one thing I know I've talked to ladies that being overweight, because you can see I'm kind of a big dude myself. That's how a lot of ladies got into it, especially if they had kids or just always had to struggle with issues overweight. It's tough, especially for a woman. It's just you get a little more allowance than us men do when it comes to overweight, but it's just still it's tough to make those decisions because bodybuilding is not just just changing anything. You change your whole lifestyle. You go in a different direction. You start to eat healthy and just that. Now, when you first competed, what was that feeling like for you when you hit the stage that first time?
The first time, it was a huge achievement for me just to step on the stage, because obviously from the history that I'd had of being overweight, it wasn't like, it was something that I would never have thought that had been a possibility. You know, it wasn't even something I'd considered. Like, you know, if somebody had asked me 5 years previously, have you thought about doing something like this? It just wouldn't have even entered my mind, because at that point in time, obviously I was in a, you know, living a completely different lifestyle. So to step on that stage and feel like this is me showcasing what I am capable of, what I can achieve, and from being that overweight girl to now standing on stage at, like, I think that first show when I was bikini, I think I was like 48 kilos or something along those lines, which is about 100 pounds, something along those lines. Mm-hmm. So step on stage like that, you're shredded with abs and everything else, was just a massive, massive thing for me. So it didn't even matter whether I placed or anything. And I ended up winning my first show, but it wasn't about the winning at that point. You know, it was just about getting up there and showing, proving to myself and to everybody else, you know, this is what I've achieved. This is what I'm capable of. And also, you know, to inspire other people to maybe make a lifestyle change and things like that and try something different, whether it be competing or whether it be something else. If I can achieve this, you can achieve anything, you know?
Mm-hmm, yeah, because, you know, it's a lot of guts to do what you do. You got to get on stage for a bunch of people, half naked, dehydrated, starving. I know there's days where you say, you know, and you, it's like, I don't want to do this. Especially get up in the morning. You got to be consistent. That's what one people need to understand about bodybuilding. It's about consistency. Yeah. You have to be able to get in the gym every day. You have to be able to eat this. I know that sometimes you say, I don't want to eat dry chicken and rice. And I want to maybe, you know, because I think you say you have children. Don't you have a...
I've got one daughter. Yeah, she's 18 now. So she's pretty much all grown up. But obviously when I started all of this, she was, well, what would she have been, about 9 or 10, something along those lines, there or thereabouts, maybe a little bit younger. So she's kind of grown up kind of watching this craziness. And yeah, I mean, it's just normal for her now, because she's watched us do it so, you know, so many times that it's like, yeah, mum's on prep and she kind of understands it. But it still does obviously have a big impact on family life, because when you're on prep, it becomes the most important thing. It becomes everything. It has to, because if you're that dedicated to it, and you have to be any good at it, everything else is just secondary. You know, it's everything comes on when, you know, when am I going to train? When am I going to eat? When am I going to do this? You know, when am I going to get my steps in? Everything has to fit around that. And then, you know, it's not a case of think about the other things first and fit the prep around it. The prep has to be first and you fit the life around it. And it is hard going, you know, it is hard going on everyone around you, no question about it.
Yeah, because, you know, especially when your daughter was 9 and you have to change your way of eating, because sometimes you have to cook something for her that you might be like she might be eating mac and cheese, or you know, she might have how y'all like eat fish and chips, and you can't eat that, and you know, because it's not good for you. You have to eat very clean, and it's good that, you know, you being a mom and you inspiring your child. You know, has she any interests in getting to competition, or is she just doing her own thing?
No, she's sort of doing her own thing. She's an equestrian, so she, you know, she's got a horse and everything. That's kind of that's her sport, if you like. That's what she's into. She has sort of question about going to the gym a couple of times, but it's just not her thing at the moment. So, which is fine. You know, I'm all about making sure that she develops, you know, the hobbies and the things that she wants to achieve. And for her, like I say, she's into that side of things. So as long as she's got a hobby that's healthy and, you know, something that she can really, like, you know, get into, that's going to keep her on the right path, you know, in life, and keep her away from any, you know, any sort of bad paths and things, then I'm happy for her. So yeah, well, yeah, she has got a boyfriend, but
yeah, just give me a second. If you can keep talking and explaining, like, one thing we would know about that you also are doing with menopausal and coaching stuff. So can you explain that to my people while I step away for a second? I just had some eyes right there. So you explain that to the...
Yeah, so I coach online females, and I coach for both lifestyle and for competition prep. So I generally work with women who are over 40, who are perimenopausal or gone through the menopause. It's just, that seems to be like the market that I seem to be in more, and it seems to be the kind of women that come to me are of that sort of age, which obviously I'm turning 40 in a couple of weeks myself. So I've come into bodybuilding late in comparison to like a lot of other people who come in at 19, 20. I was never into it then. I did my first show at 32. So, I've managed to sort of get quite a lot of clients that kind of resonate with that and have kind of had their children, they've grown up, and then they said, right, what about me now? It's my turn now. I spent all these years, devoting my life to my children. Now I've got some time to kind of give back to myself. But then they're having to also deal with all of these other hormonal issues. So, which is very difficult on the body, on losing weight, holding on to lean muscle and things like that. And women find themselves in this situation where they feel completely out of control of their bodies, because it's all going haywire. It's kind of like going through puberty again, but at the other end, and it's going the reverse way. So you're kind of helping, women to not only achieve goals that they want to achieve, but then also navigate this completely different time in their lives that they've never experienced before. And one thing that I know from working with a lot of these women is that because they've lived a bit of life and they're not, in their early 20s anymore, they are the hardest working people that I've ever worked with. So working with, masters competitors, so anyone over 35, or working with, women over 40 that are just trying to lose some weight, have usually had things go on in their lives that may have not been so great. Maybe they've been through a divorce, maybe they've, lost a lot of money, or, career-wise, it might have been made redundant or things like that. They've had things go on in life that haven't been perfect, and they've had to work through it to come out the other end. So their mindset and their ability to get shit done is so much better than somebody who maybe just expects it all to happen for them. So they work incredibly hard, and I'm incredibly proud of the women that work with me, because they do go against the odds, because it is difficult to prep as you get older. Because I know from myself, every year that I've prepped, it gets a bit more difficult, because obviously my body isn't as young as it used to be. So every year it gets that little bit harder. You can still achieve it, but it's the tools that you've got in the box are slightly different. So you have to do things in a slightly different way and adapt that to your new body as opposed to the one you had 10 years ago.
Yeah, because I can tell you that I just turned 49 about a couple of weeks ago. And I've been working since I was a kid. I have two bad knees like Stone Cold Steve Austin. I got other issues. I was working out for a good bit, but sometimes my injuries are like I have issues with my shoulder here. I got a tear right here. I got a spur right here, and it's harder when you were young. Think about it, you were 10 years old. You could run all day and all night. When you're a teenager, you can do this and do that. When you're 20, but then you start hitting 30, everything starts going. Wait a minute, going down. You're going, then I'm just a year away. Next year was my 50th birthday. I used to sometimes one of my favorite movies was Tombstone with Val Kilmer. We played Doc Holliday. He says, "Well, sir, I still am my prime. I'm past my prime, Doc." And that's tough. That's good that especially as women and men are different, even though we're the same species. We're human, but we're different animals. Men, we can't menstruate. We can't have babies. Our purpose, men's life purpose, is to breed, battle, and to die, and that's it. We're done. You women, you can, women, you live longer than most average men, because the fact is you're needed for a purpose. Like back in the day when, like before modern man, like women, they had children, they had the older women take care of the children, and the older man, there was much for them to do but to go out in the woods and die, because the younger men were needed to hunt and do all of that. But it's tough, especially for a woman, because I did an interview with a lady who was 55 when she started in bodybuilding, and she's 61. She just did her debut. The lovely Mrs. Cynthia Marks. She did a debut just about a couple months ago, and it's tougher because you compete with these girls much younger than you, who can, like I said, they can just eat like all they want and then not barely gaining pound, but hey, you eat a slice of bread and then.
Yeah, very much so, definitely. The only thing, the one thing I will say though about competitors that are a few years older, because I've just done a masters show. So the show that I just did, the last one, was the show in Milan, and that was a masters only show. So every competitor in that show was at least 35, and it was split into subcategories. So you had over 35s, over 40s, over 45s, and over 50s. And anyone that thinks entering a master show is easy needs to go to one, because the standard in that show was incredible, both with the male competitors and the female competitors. The lady that beat me to her pro card was 47, so was 8 years older than me and looked absolutely insane. insane. So despite, the fact that you're obviously older and there are some things, like if you're competing against a younger girl, obviously she's going to probably have tighter skin and things like that. When you're dealing with people who've been training for a very, very, very long time, they have such good, muscle maturity. So they're not easy to beat just because they're older. They often have a very, very long history of training with weights, and they have spent their lives working towards it. So it does mean that they do have that advantage, that they've got all those years behind them. And what you find with categories like women's physique, women's bodybuilding, things like that, is that the competitors do tend to be slightly older because it's taken so many years to get to that level. You don't just build a physique like that in a year. You can build a bikini physique in a year, if you just get a girl in the gym, get her eating right, and you can build that physique within a year. But you can't build a women's physique body within, even with all the drugs in the world. It just doesn't happen. You just need time to be able to put that level of tissue down, especially when you're trying to maintain your femininity as well. It's a very fine balance between, pushing things too far, and then you become, much less feminine, which is not something that I would want. I'm very keen on keeping hold of my femininity. Yes, I'm going into a more muscular category and I need more muscle than something like bikini or wellness or whatever, but that doesn't mean that I want to completely lose my femininity. So it is a balance between those two things.
Yeah, I hear often, especially when women decide to, you know what, I'm going to evolve and next, like, especially if you start out like bikini, where it's pretty much almost an easy division to get into. If you, especially, but most you still have to train keeping a level of condition because you can't go surpass what they put in. Wellness is still kind of new, and it has that allowance where you can be a little odd. You can be uneven at the bottom and the top. And you look at figure, it's supposed to be like more of a streamlined look, a little bit between bikini and a little bit between physique or bodybuilding. But even with those women now, they're getting to a level where they're almost, as you did both figure and physique in the show.
Yes.
Where the blinds are blurred between. You have women's bodybuilding. I know people keep talking about, I don't want to get it. I understand that, but still, there's some women in that division who's very feminine. One of my favorite ladies, you always talk about her. She signed an autograph copy for me. That's Andrea Shaw. And I'm a fan of her. I think she's beautiful. Also, talk about women who are older. I interview quite a few ladies who are 50s, 60s. There's one lady I'm going to show you a picture. Her name is Melly Horton. Melly's been competing since the 90s. She's simple ways to kicks, and she is almost 60.
Wow.
And she is amazing. I mean, almost 60. And there was a show in Romania, a woman who was 55 years old just got her pro card. And I've seen a picture.
I saw her pictures, because she got the pro card in physique and in bodybuilding, didn't she?
Yeah. And she looks like, wow. I mean, I look at her and say, I'm sure, she's sure she's 55. She looks like she might be maybe 40, 39. I mean, she just looks amazing. So, folks, we are here, lovely Claire. We're going to go in her social media for a bit and look at some pictures and stuff, and we'll talk there. But also, guys, I know you guys, you are here to come see this lovely lady. She has a beautiful English accent, like very a nice telling love fluff. Guys, be respectful. And you follow social media, no D pics. Stop it. Don't do it. It's not nice. I know you ladies, when you ladies on stage, you're puffed up, they're shredded, they're oily, all like that. You get the little pop tip, but come on, use common sense. So here, I'm going to jump in her IG for a bit. And she said, and she's a coach and a trainer, and a lot of stuff she really gets some fine points too, because as a man, I can never understand what being a woman is, but I can respect you what you do. Now here, this was one of your shows where this is a show where you competed at. Also, I like the picture.
Yes,
you look really good.
That was Germany,
Yeah, Germany is very. I know a lady who lives in Germany. She just had a birthday. Shout out to Tisha Thomas and Tigress, and who's this gentleman right here with you?
Oh, that's my boyfriend.
Oh, yeah.
He's also a competitive bodybuilder. So
what division he competes in?
He's just moved into super heavyweights.
Oh, super heavyweights. Yeah. It's just it's like And here we have here. Give you some instructions here. We talked about the menopause, so we're gonna listen to this for a good bit, folks.
Should women stop training or not bother starting training once they've gone through the menopause. Absolutely not. It is more important than ever as we age as women to incorporate fitness and some weight bearing exercise into our lives. The reason being is that as we age and our estrogen levels start to reduce, then we are more susceptible to things like osteoporosis. Now, the best way to prevent osteoporosis is by incorporating weight bearing exercise into your life. Okay, so a lot of the other symptoms that you can find that you struggle with during the menopause can actually be controlled with incorporating some exercise into your life. It's going to help you to maintain a slimmer physique because you're more likely to gain body fat once you've hit the menopause. And also the biggest thing is that you will lose lean muscle tissue as you go through the menopause as well. It's on a use it or lose it basis. So if you're using the muscle on your body, you're not going to get rid of it because your body recognizes that you need it. If you're not using it, guess what? It's going to go. The less muscle you've got on your body means the less calories you need to maintain your weight, and that means you're more susceptible to gaining body weight. That's why body composition can change so much when you hit the menopause. So it is not a time to say, okay, I'm too old to train now. Absolutely not. It is more important than ever. So please, if you're perimenopausal or menopausal and you're struggling with your weight, the best thing to do is incorporate weight-bearing exercise.
That is some great advice, especially for women who are starting out, and especially you get older when your body starts to change. You get the how women say, like, you get the change, like it's like you're turning from this sweet lovely thing to Smeagol from the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also here we have this is show you were at the Euro Masters, and you look pretty good. A lady who I interviewed a while back, her name is Issa Seiler. She competed that show. Her and Amy Mendez were supposed to get their pro card because it happens a lot overseas. Not enough competitors in divisions, not just in women's bodybuilding, but also in physique.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it does happen. There should have been 2 pro cards awarded in that category at that show, but you needed a minimum of 8 competitors, and there were 6. So.
Yeah. So 8 competitors, and it was especially usually with physique, it's usually a stacked division, but I think it's more closer to like division like figure and wellness and bikini get more competitors because I think they say you want to move away from the more muscular divisions where they see, especially how physique is going. If you look at the pro levels, like the people like most definitely like if you follow people like Ann Moon or or also there's a who else is it? I'm trying to think of some British. I know more British bodybuilders than I do physique competitors. I know Gemma Lancaster.
Yes.
Switched over to women's bodybuilding. Joe Kelly, she just made her debut in physique, and I did a comparison. I do things called comparisons, and I did comparison between the both of them because they were doing the same poses. Which definitely, in women's physique, you ain't supposed to do the front and rear lat. But they do in physique in some physique shows. Let's do it. And I did comparison between Gemma and Joe, and they're not too far apart.
Yeah. Well, I competed with Joe 2022 last year in a regional show because she did physique then. No, it wasn't a regional. It was a pro qualifying show. It was Ben Weeder pro qualifying show, and she would have got her pro card at that show, but again, that was when I was still doing figure. There wasn't enough competitors, so unfortunately, even though she won the overall at that show, she didn't get it there, so she had to keep going, and she ended up getting a pro card in Amsterdam last year.
Yeah, and that's tough because you know what? It's just one thing people got to recognize. Bodybuilding is not, especially when you're in the amateur levels, it's way more expensive to compete, especially for women. Yeah. For guys, at most, all you got to wear is a pair of board shorts or a banana hammock, as you call the Speedos, and it'll cost that much. I think what's it, $50, $60 here in the States, or how many it is? It's in the UK, and it costs. And then with you ladies, it costs you more, especially when if you don't have the luxury of a sponsor to sponsor you. Like you got the cost of travel, your food costs, staying at here and there. I mean, there's so few shows, especially in the UK. I think a good amount of shows are like more like in Germany and also Italy. I know well-affiliated ladies who I met a while back. Lita Popa, she has a couple of shows One show is called Valhalla. That's an amateur show, and also the Romanian Muscle Fest, which does
Yeah.
it's a pro am. And and mostly everybody knows most of the states and most opportunities are here in the states.
Yeah.
But the cost of coming here, and then was it this year was a mess with visa issues. I mean,
Yes.
it was killer.
Yeah, there was a lot of bodybuilders that couldn't get in because Nathan Diasha lives about 30 minutes drive from where I live. So obviously he couldn't get in. There was loads of problems and things. So it has been an issue for a lot of people. But like I say, in Europe, we have a few opportunities, but it only works when there's enough competitors. So like the Germany show that I did, the pro card was given, but there was only 5. So there was literally just enough competitors to do that show. And if, for me, traveling all the way over to these countries, like you say, flights, registration fees, tan fees, I'm very fortunate that I am sponsored for my bikini. So that I'm very, very fortunate for. And Bikini Mama is my sponsor, and she's fantastic, absolutely brilliant at making the suits that I wear on stage. So I'm very fortunate for that. But everything else is all self-funded. So, I've got to make sure that I can get to these venues, that either hire a car when I'm there or getting Ubers everywhere and things like this. So it does really start to rack up. And, in the last 12 months, I've spent a lot of money competing. I don't even want to work it out exactly, but we're talking getting on towards, like, I would say when you put all like coaching fees on and everything like that, I would say we're talking like 10K, and that's like British pounds. That's probably about,
That's probably like about 20 to 15,000 in American.
yeah,
because you're a little higher than us in but
yeah.
Right here we have my man Leroy Khan coming through. Leroy Khan saying, he just says, hello, you all, great interview, one great lady, you have a fan here.
Thank you.
Also, we have a man here, balls deep. That's just he's really cool, but it can't be so. He says, good afternoon, gorgeous. He says, his thing says, Chicago in here. He's repetitive. Also, he says, smash the like button. Thank you, balls deep. And also we got here Curtis L. Jordan Jr. You got it made in the Christmas parade. Go girl. Yeah, he likes your suits. And that's the thing is, like, it costs you ways to travel, the suits, everything like this. I've talked about this, and that's why it's good that you have a suit sponsor. And what's the suit sponsor again?
Bikini Mama.
Bikini Mama. And I know that helps you save you little bucks here and there, the tanning, everything else. And I think the thing is, one thing, even though you're not in the pro levels, I think as amateurs, I think it should be a little more considerate, especially you have to pay for entry fees. I think, like, if you win, I know some ladies suggest that. I think to do some shows, if you win, you get your entry fees back, because that's hey, that's some money you put in your pocket.
Yeah.
And it's tough being a woman and doing this sport. And also, as you all said earlier about the maintaining femininity, because sometimes if you go, one thing people think about bodybuilding is steroids, this, that, but it's only a small factor of the sport. If you're not consistent on your diet, if you don't follow this, like sometimes ladies I become really fit. We joke and say, "I George, this is your leg day." I say, "Oh wow, your leg day." So yeah, I say, I feel like you ever saw an episode of with Charlie Murphy talking about how he met Rick James, and then they go and then Rick goes over to Eddie's house and he's like, "Fuck your couch," and they beat his legs, and And so I say sometimes some ladies say, "George, I feel like Rick James gives like, what my legs, Charlie Murphy," and it's tough. And I know, there's days that you say, I don't want to do this, but you keep moving forward.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, when it comes to, like, supplementation, things, obviously, it's bodybuilding. At the end of the day, the drugs are there. You know what I mean? You can't escape the fact that it's there. It's part of it. Unless you're doing a natural show, you're going to be against people that are using steroids. But like you rightly said, it's this much of it. And, if your diet's not right, if you're not training every day, you can take all the drugs you like in the world, but it's never going to do anything. It's never going to build a world-class physique. You're never going to, be competitive on stage. So having all those other things in place, it's like building a house. If you haven't got the foundations there, it doesn't matter how many plasma, big fancy TVs you put on the wall. If the foundations are there, that house is falling down. So it's about making sure that is there first before you even think about starting to put other things in place. So when I'm coaching, for example, sometimes I'll have, ladies come into me that are saying, should I take this? Should I take that? And I'm like, whoa, hang on a minute. What are you, first of all, what are you trying to achieve? Are you going to be getting on stage? What's your training like? What's your diet like? Before we think about the drugs, it's like about getting the nitty gritty in first, and then putting everything else on top later if we need it, because not every woman does need it, especially depending on what category you're doing. If you're doing bikini, yes, okay, at the pro levels, those girls are, utilizing things. But if you're an amateur bikini girl, you don't really need to be going down that road. You just need to get your diet right and train hard, and that is going to give you that physique, providing you put the work in.
Yeah, because that's the fact is that if you don't maintain that same consistency, meaning day in, day out, and no matter what you put in your system, no matter what drug you take, it's not going to make you the better bodybuilder. People tell me, hey, all you just get big and bloated. You're not going to look as conditioned. You have to really take the time to work in. And like I say, she has mentioned she is a coach. So we'll go back into her social media a bit. We show some pictures as she is, is a coach. This is one of your class right here holding her medal. Who's that young lady? It looks like it's a Two Bros show.
Yes. So that was at a regional show. She did, let me think, bikini. So and then I've got a couple of ladies that do figure.
Yeah, and it look like you got some pretty good. How long have you been coaching since you started?
I started coaching in 2017. Started initially just with lifestyle clients, and then in 2018 started coaching for contest. Initially doing mostly bikini girls to start with, but then since then I've been managed to sort of do a lot more with figure girls and things as well, which is great because that's what I can say, that's what I love. I love the fuller physiques and everything, so it's been really, really lovely. I've had a few clients that have worked with me for about 4 to 5 years now. Some obviously come and go. It depends on what the individual is after. But because some people just want to do it as a one-time thing, for a lot of women, it's a tick in the box. It's something they want to say they've achieved. Other women, it's a big weight loss, like this lady here, lost a considerable amount of weight. And she went on to do a transformation show to showcase this massive transformation that she'd had. So, everybody's got a different reason for wanting to get on stage. Some people want to make a career out of it. Some people just want to do it the once and achieve that goal. And then other people, are wanting to showcase a transformation. So it depends on what the individual's goal is as to obviously, the way that you work with them, because like I say, everybody has different goals.
Yeah, because whatever you looking for, it has to fit with what you want to, how far you want to go in your career. And bodybuilding, like I said, it's not much as a career, but it's a way to really achieve something. Some people have, outside of sport, like if people you follow people like David Lynn Bailey or Kai Green or Iris Kyle, many several other bodybuilders, or one of the most famous bodybuilders of all time that that made a really big life change as he walked away from bodybuilding is Arnold, and that's what people think about bodybuilding is Arnold and Lou Ferrigno. Those one of the twos. And do what you do and do it for the people you're working for. It's good work. I mean, you got to respect that. So as a coach, what would you tell somebody who said, you know what, this is my first time. What do I need to do? How do I need to start? Can you help me?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, most of the girls that I've worked with have been exactly in that position, of not knowing where to start. I don't know exactly what it's like over there, but in the UK, we have a lot of shows, like different federations. So nothing that's NPC or IFBB, but we have a lot of smaller federations with lots of different shows. So the market is saturated. We've got more shows than ever, and it's a minefield. So these girls looking and going, oh my God, there's so many different shows. There's so many different categories. What am I going to do? So when somebody comes to me like that, first of all, we have a chat over a consultation. I would obviously ask them how long they've trained for. Sometimes the answer is that I don't train. So that's the very first thing. So if you've never been in a gym, how are you going to know you need to do a show? So it's about establishing what they've already done, where they're at in their journey. Have they competed before? Have they been to a show? And that's probably the first thing I would say to anybody. If they're thinking about competing and they've never competed and they've never been to a show, go to a show, because you may find that going to a show might actually put you off because you don't really know what you're getting yourself involved in when you're just looking at photos on Instagram. And obviously with social media, it's blown up the bodybuilding industry because so many women are seeing other people doing it. They see the glamorous side of it, but they don't necessarily see what comes before all of that. They don't see the extreme fatigue. They don't see the dieting for weeks and weeks and weeks on end and all of that sort of thing. So I always make sure that anybody that's considering doing a show knows both sides of it. So not just the glitter and the tan and all of that malarkey, but that they also know what it takes to achieve that. And it's not to put people off. It's just to make sure that they totally understand what they're getting into, because it's not an easy sport. It's not something that you can just, do half-assed. You have to do it all or nothing. And if you're not prepared to put the sacrifices, take the sacrifices, it's probably not the right sport for you. So I would always tell somebody to go to a show, do their research, look into it, spend some time with people that have competed, see what they live, see what their life is like, see how they live. And then you can decide whether it's something that you want to do.
Yeah, because like you talk about, there's so many other federations. I know I did interview a lady a while back. Her name is Holly McVitie, and she does PCA, and that's the
it,
physique, Physique Culture Association. That's coming up. We also have it here in the States because I interviewed a lady a while back. Her name is Tracy S. Rugged. She competed over it. She was IFE, but she switched over about a couple months ago. They do have a physique division. It's not going big yet, but as more women start developing, you need a place to go. Because like I said, you started out in bikini for a minute, then you went to figure, and you just, like, I see this quite often. We talk about this I do live streams, we talk about this, how sometimes genetics kick in. And you just say, you know what, I just want to do this. But then you start growing and say, you know what, I want to stay here. But you can't stay someplace where you're outgrowing. You have to move on, and you have to really, because this is what somebody told me. It's not body breaking, it's body building.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think one thing is that what you're doing, working with these ladies and getting them to find what they're at in their path in the sport, I respect that. It's a lot of work. It's like the Peace Corps. It's the toughest job you ever love.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, is it's easy to to see all, like I say, the glamour side of it, because that's what everybody talks about on social media. They always talk about show day and how amazing this was and everything. But, you have to do the journey to get there, and that's the like I say, that's the part of bodybuilding. A lot of people like the idea of the stage, but they don't like the idea of bodybuilding. Whereas I strongly believe you need to be a bodybuilder first before you're a competitor, because they're two different things. Being a competitor and being a bodybuilder are two different things. I know plenty of bodybuilders that have never gone on stage. They do it for their own personal thing. They might do a photo shoot every now and again, but they've never stepped on stage because they're in love with bodybuilding, but they don't want to compete. And I think if you don't love it, it's hard enough when you do to compete, even when you love it. But if you don't love bodybuilding, you're never going to be able to push yourself to that point where you get on stage, because we all get to that point, whether it's 4 weeks out, 3 weeks out, where you're not enjoying your training. You don't want to eat chicken and rice anymore, but you have to do it because you've committed to that end goal. And the only way you're going to get there is by doing the things you don't want to do. And it's not easy and it's not fun, but you don't have that luxury to be able to pick and choose the bits that you want to do. It's all or nothing. And you have to drag yourself into that gym and get through that session. Sometimes you'll cry in a session. I haven't done this prep, but in previous
cry in bodybuilding.
I know. I've cried training legs a couple of years ago when I was probably about 2 weeks out. I was tired, I was hungry, my strength had gone awful. And I think I was like on my second exercise, on my third set, and I just thought, there is nothing left. There is nothing left in my body. I am so tired. And I just cried. I carried on training and I got through it, but I had that moment of thinking, oh my God, like, I am at the point of breaking here, but I've got to go through it. It's like when marathon runners talk about hitting the wall, you just have to keep going, because if you don't, you're never going to get there. And then you'll have done however many weeks of work for nothing. I've known competitors pull out of a show 3 or 4 days before, because they just lost their mind and just had a binge. And it's such a shame, because when you've done all of those weeks of dieting and then you just literally fall off at the very end, it's really hard.
Yeah, you feel like you wish that you were like Whitney Houston's in The Bodyguard, in which Kevin Costner come up and say, "Oh, Captain," But yeah, one thing is, people say as guys, like as I started to do stuff, I've been a fan of bodybuilding for a long time, and my older brother used to play here in our hometown football, and he used to get the muscle mass. I look at Arnold like that, and y'all women, this is what we as the guys outside don't understand, that when we see y'all. We see you like this. You're on the stage. You're shredded. You're vascular. And there's an old smoke saying, well, you ladies rock hard. We're rock hard. And that's what we get excited about. But we don't understand what it takes to get to that. You're sleep deprived, dehydrated, starving. There's days where you're, especially for women, it affects your body, your chemistry, everything. There's so much to it. The people who are outside don't understand it. But this is what we respect about you ladies, because you're so passionate about it. You don't make a lot of money. Sometimes if you do a show, especially if you're the pro level, you do a show, if you get first place, if you're lucky enough, you might get maybe 5K or whatever it is in pounds. And the guys over there, they might get the chunk of change. I understand they put a much more skills, but you ladies, you put a little bit more, because what you're doing is you're changing the aspects of what people consider feminine. You're changing like what women are supposed to be soft, supposed to be like one of my, like I said, I quite a few jobs. I always talk about is in my interviews. I had quite a few jobs. I used to work at you might call a petrol station. We call it a gas station here in the States. I worked in textiles for a long time. I used to work at a processing plant. I used to have one job, and it was kind of my favorite job, but it's a tough job too. I used to work in a gentleman's club, but here in America, in the hood, we call it a booty club. And but it's about you women. You got to do what you got to do to keep going to the next level. Especially people don't understand that this is a sport that you do not just for the money of it. If you get lucky enough, you make some fame, and you can be the next Arnold Schwarzenegger, or be the next Lou Ferrigno, or be like Linda Murray or Dana Lee Bailey or Lena Popa, or whoever who's top in the sport. Who's like, but most people don't recognize these people, understand what you went through to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I mean, is you have to love it, because I don't know anybody that does bodybuilding personally, even like, and I know a few pros as well. I don't know any of them that are doing it for the money. None of them are doing it for the money. They're doing it because they love it, and they love that competitive nature. And obviously it's about bettering yourself every single time you go on stage. So for me, it's obviously I want to get my pro cards. So that's a big thing for me. But what I take home from the stage is kind of irrelevant in a lot of ways, as long as I know that I've beaten my previous showing. So if I go on stage in 2025 and I'm better than I have been this year, and I can recognize that in my photos and how the prep went and everything else, that's a win for me. Even if I place third in everything, if I've bettered my own physique, then that's the only thing I can compare against, because the people that are going to stand next to me on the stage are always going to change. They're never going to be all the same competitors. So you can't compare one show result with another, because you've got different competitors, you've got different judges, it's a different day. You just can't make that comparison. So rather than putting the focus on, I have to make sure I win everything, for me and for a lot of the other people that I know that are in the industry, it's about making sure that you're constantly making that progression, and that every year or every time you compete, you're that bit better, and you've made improvements, and you've taken your feedback and said, okay, I need to grow here, or I need to bring more condition there, or whatever it is. And that you can take that forward and keep evolving, so that it's a constant process of getting better,
Well, we got here from one of your fans here. This is from my man Balls Deep. He says, peace and blessings, beautiful. And also says, Merry Holidays. And yeah, because your last show, your old championships, what was the feedback for the judges? What did they tell you that you?
Well, I'm still waiting for the feedback for that, because I haven't had all of the official stage photos yet. And until I've got my official stage photos from the stage photographer, I can't request feedback.
Well, do yourself a favor. Go back and check in your DMs. I sent you some photos.
I've got those. Yes, I've got those. Yeah. So I got those I got those that you sent me, because they were on the NPC website. But until they've sent them to me officially, I can't get my feedback.
I'm so sorry. Sometimes things like happen.
Do not worry. Do not worry. So yeah, so I haven't got my feedback from that show as yet, but the feedback that I've had from previous shows has been that it's always for me more legs, more legs, more legs, more legs, and that's my upper body grows quite well, but I struggle to grow my lower body, so that's always the point that I have to work the hardest on, and a bit more condition next time, which I know about. This year getting in condition was harder than it has been in previous years, and I think that my physique is just a bit tired because I prepped in 2021, I did 2 preps in 2022, and then I've prepped again this year. So over the last 3 years I've spent a lot of time in a calorie deficit, and I think my body's just at that point now where it needs a bit of a break, it needs a rest, it needs to reset, build up the calories again, and then hopefully when I come in again I can make sure that I bring in that little bit more condition.
Well, from the pictures I saw, you look pretty good. I don't know. Maybe I'm just from a fan standpoint. We see what we see, but we're not judges. We're not experts,
Yeah.
and it takes a lot because and especially if we talk about the Masters. This Masters is really getting popular the last few years. I know if you know a while back they just did the Masters Olympia. That show is gonna come every bi-yearly now. And and I know some lady that the lady I so approached who I showed you, Melanie, she wanted to compete the show, but she had to get an invitation. She wasn't invited. Lady who I interviewed and met a while back with Shauna Boswell, one of women's bodybuilding. I know Evie Rain ran in women's physique. And there's going to be a lot more women now, like I said, who are much mature. Get into it. I've interviewed a lady the other day. Her name is Jacqueline Hale. She also competes in Masters, also in Open. And what the judges are, the judges? They have a lot of control, where they want certain looks. Like they tell women bikini, don't get too much striation in the glutes. But then they try to tell the same thing in women's bodybuilding with physique. But then when you see somebody who looks like, okay, this should look like she'll be in bodybuilding, but she wins the physique show. Then then the next show, okay, I beat her. But the fact is, it should be a set criteria. They keep changing criteria. So like I know a while back, if you follow the NPC, like Tyler Mallion, he's the vice president over there. He announced that they was going to change the guideline for men's physique next year. They changed the guideline for men's classics this year. I was talking about bikini and wellness. And I know some ladies who I talked to, who I know we're friendly with, they tell me they're wondering what's going to set the guidelines for physique and women's bodybuilding. Because instead again, those divisions are supposed to be separate, but they are starting to meld. Because I just had a birthday to her. It's Ashley Jones, because now she's going to women's bodybuilding. And I think also I saw, if you follow Female Bodybuilding channel, they said that Emily Schubert might be switching over.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me because her legs are
huge,
massive. Like
she's only a little bit smaller to like maybe Margie Martin.
Yeah,
smaller.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if she moved up, because seeing her in the lineup at the Olympia this year, she was a lot bigger than some of the other girls in that sort of top 5. So I wouldn't be surprised if she moves up at all. She's definitely got the genetics for it, 100%.
And like I said, it's a lot of ladies. They need that division, because it's a while back. It was almost. I've been fan of bodybuilding for a long time, and I follow the ladies, and I've interviewed mostly for a while, strictly just on bodybuilding. I didn't like physique too much because I call it watered down women's bodybuilding. But I interview quite ladies. I interview ladies, even figure, and even some ladies bikini. I really try to get the aspects of the different divisions and try to understand what you go through. I understand that it takes the time to get to that next level, but it's the same thing. If you're trying to stay in a division where you're outgrowing, just to see how you do. Especially, I think when Ashley, she was 11th in Olympia last year, and I'm gonna show you this picture right here. And I posted it on my social media a while back, and the particular same person who I just mentioned earlier, she didn't like that fact that I did this comparison, and that is her and Margie Martin.
Yeah.
If you look at it, Margie's just a little bit more size to her, condition the quads, but you wouldn't think they were two different divisions.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. And even with someone like this, the next person I'm going to show you here, Sarah Vilgas, they are, like Sarah, she has that, I think she's more like that classic go back or maybe about the 90s of women's bodybuilding. And even Missy, because we shot to her, she's going through her injuries. I think she's doing pretty good. Maybe after she get back, it's just getting the fact that, as I said, the divisions are starting to meld. And if the judges don't put in, okay, we have a set guideline for you ladies, you go with this, or you can go back to where you was back a few years ago, or like about 20 years ago, where they had classes in the pro level for the women.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It does feel like you don't know where you sit sometimes, because you'll go to one show and get one piece of feedback, and then something else will tell you something else. Because when I moved into physique, I was told by the judge at that show, because I did figure, and I was told I was outgrowing figure and that I needed to move up, which was great because I wanted to anyway, so it was fine. But then you see other shows, and some of the figure girls are bigger than the physique competitors, and you're like, this doesn't seem like, what's going on here? Like, why is this girl doing figure when she's clearly physique? And then you've got physique girls that should be figure. It just seems to be all over the place, but it doesn't help when they say one thing and then reward something else. So, for example, in bikini, obviously they did the videos recently saying that they didn't want, any sort of like overly hardness in the hamstrings and things like that, and they wanted nice full round glutes. They didn't want striations, or nothing too sharp in the glute ham tie-in and that. And then you go to the shows and you see what's awarded, and they're rewarding the girls who are absolutely shredded. So they're saying one thing, and then the judges on the table on the day are rewarding the opposite. So you can only really go with what they're actually doing on the day. So it doesn't really matter what they say in a room. It depends on what actually happens on that show day, because you can only really judge it based on what they're awarding at the other show. So it's very difficult sometimes to know where you fit, and also how hard to come in, and or how full. Do we go more full this time and less shredded, or do we go more shredded and less full? Because it just depends on which judge is sat at that which head judge is sat at that table sometimes, as to which way it's going to go.
I know it's talks to like some of the, I think most popular judges right here is like here in the States. You have Sadie Williamson, you have Steve Weinberg, who's married to Bev Francis, a woman who changed
Steve judged me.
Yeah.
Steve judged me at the Arnold in 2021 and placed me first at that show in figure. So I've been judged by Steve. I've been judged by Jack Sullivan.
I've heard that name too.
Yeah. Who else have I been judged by? Because in all the pro qualifying shows, the head judge is always from the US.
Because they want to see what's going to come to our way, wherever you're going to come here. Exactly. And yeah, it just, like I said, I'm a fan, and and this is, I'll admit this, I'm a muscle person, bro. I'll admit that. And I really, what I learned from these conversations with you ladies, like stuff like, especially the stuff like, I often have questions like the muscle bellies, how if you look at, like, the lady took third at the Olympia against in women's physique. She did a show in Puerto Rico. And Leah Popa said that she had a full round muscle bellies. The next year she did one more show in physique, but then she did in women's bodybuilding. I think she was third at the Olympia in women's bodybuilding. And she looks like those guidelines. Even though she's trying to stay a little small, she's smaller. But then you look at someone like Michaela Aycock, who's short. She's 4'11". And she just one thing is, like, she can put on that mask, because with the shorter women, they can put a lot of good size. There's a one lady who I'm really for. Her name's Tina Williams. Tina's like 5'9", 5'8". And it's harder for the taller women. I'm seeing like one lady who I interviewed a while back, Angela Norway. She's tall. She's double dipping. She's doing physique and women's and doing figure. And you're just trying to find where you can fit in as a competitor. But if the judges don't have those set guidelines, say, okay, we're going with, okay, we don't want you to be shredded like this. We want you to be like this. If you're going to be like this, okay, you might need to go over here. But I remember a while back I was watching. It was like a video after the it was a backstage video at the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic back in 2020. If it was 2022, that last year we had both figure and physique. And you look at someone like Jessica Reyes-Padilla, you look at Mr. Trescott, then you look at him and say, you know what? Are they the same division? Are they different division? And Arnold kicked out figure. He kicked out. I love his movies. I've seen Conan 500,000 times as a kid, but the stuff I've heard what he done, especially toward women's body, he pushed out women's bodybuilding, pushed out physique, pushed out figure. 212, I don't care about that. That's just tiny male bodybuilders. But you have to need a place for to grow as an athlete. And you still got I would say the TNA divisions, TNA division, that's wellness and bikini. But even with those ladies now, if you look at them now, I would say when women's bodybuilding started out, it was almost like bikini, a little bit like a figure. They were the women bikini now are way bigger than the women 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
100%. And if you look at pictures, like I was like a friend of mine used to be a picture of it was from, I think it was from 92, 93. and it was like Olympia. You had Linda Murray, you had Carla Dunlap, no, not Carla, yeah, Little Craval, and you had Denise Rusowski. And I don't know if you've heard those names, but they looked like what you might want to see in physique now. But even the women physique now surpassing them.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you mentioned Dana Lynn Bailey. I mean, obviously, you know, if she was competing in women's physique now with the physique that she had that she won the Olympia in, she wouldn't stand a chance. Would not stand a chance. She wouldn't be big enough. Yeah. So, you know, it's this thing. And I think when they took women's bodybuilding out for a while, it meant that those girls had nowhere to go. So they only had two choices, which was to not compete or to drop down into physique. So I think that's where it's kind of like started to go wrong, really, because obviously women came from women's bodybuilding, dropped down into physique. It made physique bigger. Then they've brought bodybuilding back, and now these girls are kind of like, well, I dropped into women's physique, so do I go back up or do I stay where I am now? And it's the lines are just so blurred now. It's so difficult to know, like I say, where you fit. You know, it is hard, very hard.
Yeah. Well, that's how we're supposed to say we see y'all ladies on the stage. Sorry, I know that was the other guy, because sometimes we just dogs chasing cars. We don't have a plan, but Clara, I think you are beautiful. So, and yeah, I think, shout out to the guy who did bring me win bodybuilding, Jake Wood. I gotta do this every time I say his name. Yo, Jake, I want that money. I want that gun. And Jake, what you got in your pockets, because it's probably take care of my win for the rest of the year. But, when your last competition, this is something I like to ask you ladies, what was that thing that was calling you, that thing you wanted? That's...
food.
Yeah.
I have a sweet tooth. So for me, it's always something sweet. My partner is the opposite. He would much rather have a huge burger and fries. That's always his thing. Whereas for me, it's something like, something like a cake, or, like cookies and donuts and things like that. They're the sorts of things that I tend to crave more after a show. So the first meal that we had after that show in Milan, we did actually go out for a burger and fries. So we had that first. And then I had this like, there's a company over here in the UK called Cookie Box, and she makes all kinds of stuffed cookie creations. So it's like cookie dough, and then brownie, and then like flapjack, all different layers. And it's just sugar overload. So, but it was amazing.
I gotta be careful. I'm pre-diabetic. My mother had it. My sister had it. I tried not to, because I've been pretty good, but sometimes it'd be like, it's like crack. Like there's like my brother used to live is a town over. It's Fayetteville. It's one of our biggest military towns here in North Carolina, and he used to live like just a block away from Dunkin' Donuts. And one, I think it was maybe a few years ago, we were sitting around and chilling and say, hey, he's going to the store. I said, what you gonna get? I'm gonna give yourself a beer, a couple of things. What you want? I said, I don't want anything. I'm gonna start by Dunkin' Donuts. Okay, it's a light on, we need a couple of donuts. Happy good. It's just, that's it. It said again, food is both a weapon and also it's a tool. It's a weapon against you, because if you don't, like, I remember one lady who told me in an interview, she ate gelatos while she was training. It's not good to eat gelatos. You have to, as often here ladies, you have to eat clean. What's your like who's your coach, and what kind of diet plan he's working with you on?
My coach is a guy called Tom Hames, who's based over here in the UK. I went to him 18 months ago, I think it was. I used to work with a different coach, but then when I started moving into women's physique, I wanted to work with a coach that was familiar with the division, because my previous coach was more bikini and figure. So I started working with Tom because he's worked with a number of physique competitors, got them their pro cards. There was a lady from the UK, I don't know if you know her name, Romana. She got her.
Yeah, she just I follow. I was trying to reach out for an interview, but I sent the email to Sarah Bradley, and I told Sarah, hey, I was happy mistake. If you can possibly, I won't mind doing an interview. And Sarah looks like she's impressive too. But yeah, yes. Romana, she looks pretty impressive.
Yeah. So Sarah and Romana are both prepped, or were. Romana was prepped by Tom. She got her Olympia invite with him, and now her partner's coaching her, but Sarah is still coached by Tom, so he is my coach. So I've gone to him because he's got a good track record with working with women's physique competitors. So obviously reverse dieting at the moment, so we've just pushed the calories up, get my body back into a good place so that I can actually eat a lot more food. Still obviously clean, plenty of rice, plenty of chicken. We've got oatmeal in there, eggs, all the usual stuff. But yeah, it's There's plenty of it now, so at least I'm not hungry all the time.
Yeah, that's good because people got it's like it's not about the amount of meals, it's the quality of the food. And you
Yeah.
have to eat what's it like 5, 6 times a day during the week?
Yeah, usually about five to six, depending. Like when I was towards the end of the prep, it was five because we just didn't have enough food to stretch it over six. But now we're back up to six again on a training day, five on a non-training day. So just obviously calories slightly little bit lower on a rest day than it is on a training day. But yeah, still eating plenty of meals, so making sure fuel in the body.
And we, especially your workout, what's your favorite and least favorite workout? Because I think the workout that really gets you going, gets that blood pumping.
I hate training legs, and there's no denying that.
Everybody, okay, we can't. Yeah, it's said again. It's like the episode of Chappelle Show with Jay crawling out with your legs. Nah. I had two people who told me they love leg day. That was Tiana Flex and also Emily Amelia. She who pro card a while back. I looked at her and said, "You like leg day?" I mean,
Yeah, no, it's not my favorite at all. I do work with a guy that pushes me on legs once a week just to get the best out of me, because I know that otherwise I can go too easy on myself, because it is tough, it's hard, and because it's an area that I struggle to grow as well, I need to have that extra push. So that would be my least favorite. My favorite training day is probably a back and biceps day. Just love training back and biceps. But again, because my body is more responsive in the upper body, I'm always having like upper body sessions taken away from me to have more leg days. And I'm like, no, don't take my favorite day away. Yeah, I would always prefer training upper body, generally upper body as a whole, really. But back and biceps is probably my favorite.
Yeah, I think that's one thing. I think the best quality, especially on the shoulders, the back. We love the biceps because we smoke. You look at y'all like we pump. You get that big pump. You get that big. We get excited about it. But it is the details of what's like the best qualities you work with. And I know your Tom wants you to come steady along. He wants you not to blow yourself out on one thing and wants you to improve on the other. And that's just work on your weaknesses and just be steady on your strengths.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, because we've got a long off season ahead, it's about making sure that body fat doesn't creep up too much, so that we haven't got as much work to do at the end. Because obviously, the more that my body fat, obviously I need to put some body fat on, because it's no fun being mega lean. It looks great, but you feel awful. So I would not want to stay there for a long period of time, because as much as it's impressive to look at, it is not a life that you don't get any enjoyment out of life at all.
I heard many stories how ladies says when they're lean like that, they feel like there's like pin cushions all over. I mean, you can't even sit on a chair without it. And it's tough. As we said again, as the guys who are fans of you ladies, we do like that look, but we can say when you're soft, more feminine, you look like you're like, hey baby, like I know when your man he's playing with you, so you feel so soft, baby, but then when you're lean, he's like, don't touch me, put your hands off me. Even if your daughter hugs you when you're lean, you're like, I love you, baby, but don't touch me. But that is something that is for competition. Real life is different. And then we know that this is a process. And I remember we were talking with one lady said, like, it's about understanding the process before you trust the process. And whatever Tom's working with you on, I think it's probably, he sees that you have those aesthetics that you should grow in women's physique. I think that's the vision for you. And it maybe not be for somebody else who might need to really maybe go up or stay where they're at. It's a lot of work. And this is the thing about if it was easy, everybody could do it. Like the great Ronnie Coleman said, everybody wants to be a bodybuilder, but no one lifts his heavy ass weights.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ronnie Coleman. So, folks, we're not gonna have her for too much longer. She took the time out here with us, and I think she's a great lady. I think she has a great future in the sport. We hope that she can get a pro card. Maybe, hey, out there, I'm gonna say this, guys. If you are a sponsor, interested in sponsoring Clara, there's a couple of shows here she can probably get her pro card, like nationals. There's also that's in a couple of weeks nationals. Also, there's the Olympia amateurs, which is going back to Vegas.
Yeah.
I know somebody said they didn't like to go back to Vegas because last year I know I interviewed Danielle Willis. She just did Vegas. She got sick, and then there was a lady who passed away after that. And I think it's because they finished their contract obligations with Orlando.
That's right.
Going back to Vegas.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's going to, because they're going to push it up to October because the weather's a little better there. Because I know December is cold over, even Nevada gets cold. I live in North Carolina. This morning it was like 47 degrees when I took my nephew to work. It was cold. It was still ice everywhere. But
Yeah.
I think that year October is still a little bit warm. One lady said they like to go to the pool parties if it's still warm. But I would say like this, my dear lady, I think you have a great future. And what you're doing, what you know, is a training coach helping women understand their bodies. That's good because you know what? One thing about it is, I think I was talking to one lady who I've become really friendly with. I told her you might need maybe consider working as a trainer because really more women need that.
Yeah.
Because one thing I remember I was talking with one lady, she's a figure competitor, and she's training with a guy who was a IFB pro level bodybuilder, but still giving her the same program and process like you would do a man. But women, I said again, you're different from us. Men, we can build muscle more. Even when I was 16, I was already pushing 350 pounds in bench press. I was squatting 550 because I'm a little bit, I'm like 5'7", and I can really move a little stocky. I'm a little more built for it. But women, you're differently built. And it takes a while to get that muscles. Even if you do take,
Yeah.
steroids, performance enhancers, that's not enough. You have to follow a diet. You have to follow guidelines. You have to work what makes you more, aesthetically capable of becoming a bodybuilder.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, and then juggling everything else in life as well, because obviously so many women become the main caregivers when it comes to their children and things like that. So if they're trying to juggle looking after young children, school runs and all of this sort of thing, and a career and everything else, then it's hard to sort of balance being a mum and, your career and the bodybuilding. So it is very hard to do that. And sometimes I think, like I say, when obviously I use a male coach to coach me, but obviously for a lot of women, they don't necessarily feel like men will always understand them, depending on what obviously the coach's background is. Like I say, I know with Tom, he's got a long track record with working with women's physique competitors, so that's why I went to him. But there's other male coaches out there that, like you said, don't necessarily understand the ins and outs, and will just give you just go and train legs once a week and do this
Cut
and
a
that.
sheet plan.
Yeah. So, a lot of the women that I work with can relate to me, can relate to my journey and things like that. And, it's always nice to give something back, after everything I've gotten from this amazing journey that I've done for the past few years. It's nice to be able to give something back and see somebody else get joy in the thing that I love so much.
Yeah, because I know, like when bodybuilding Canada started, I remember there was only a handful of women I could think of that had children. People like Krista Bach, the first mom Miss Olympia, Yevgenia Keene. There was Diane Dennis, Michelle Brent. She also, there's quite a few ladies who have 3 or more kids, who have a job. Some don't even have family, but they have jobs. But one thing is, if the jobs are a better alternative, because like a lot of ladies have to do to make their money between the shows, they do, as I call them, excuse my language, said the beat the meat websites. That's what they are. And it's a way to make income, and people got to understand that. But it's not how you make the money; it's how you can get the money. That's the thing of it. And if there was more, I think one thing for some ladies in the divisions, more sponsorship, more opportunities, a little more to take some like one thing I always talk about this, especially like the NPC IFBB, they should have more protections for their athletes. Wasn't that long ago we had a bunch of deaths. We had people getting sick, people falling off. I did an interview with a lady who I've become friendly with. She was competing, but she had to take some step back because it was just so difficult for her. She just, I get some ladies who we've talked to say, what, sometimes it can get to affect your mind and your body at the same time, dealing with being a bodybuilder. But I think one thing is, if you are in the sport, like it was like anything like soccer, mainstream sports like that, here in the States, like football, we have, benefits which help you athletes out. It can take a little pressure off of you. I mean, like, we do a show when you have like medics there to make sure you check your blood work, make sure, you're in good shape. Say, okay, we don't want you to die on the stage. I interviewed a lady who fainted at the Olympia like about 15 years ago. I've seen videos of picture women who backstage, and I've seen guys just nearly near death's door, because this is a very, people think it's a sport, but it's not the sport that this everyday person watches, pay attention to. I used to remember Bible used to come on network television, used to come on ESPN, but you have to either watch it on the internet or you watch it on streaming.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you say, it is extreme, and a lot of things that we do are extreme. But like you say, that there was that sort of time where I felt like every single time I opened my phone, there was another bodybuilder that was dead, and it was just constantly like, oh god, another one, another one, another one, and it was just like it seemed like it was happening all the time because people are pushing so much further boundaries. They're taking more drugs than ever. They're doing more extreme things to try and beat, because the standard is so high, and because people are pushing it to that limit, that people are getting sick, people are getting horrendous injuries. I mean, look at Nick Walker before the
Yeah.
Olympiad, a few days before, and it's like,
Look,
that's it, over.
look what happened to Missy. Well, that was
Yeah,
doing
on
this.
stage, yeah.
Look at Nicole Zenobia. She got sick. Who else? The guy, I think it was a guy who was in UK also. He died. I forgot his name. I think he was he either committed suicide or he one of
Yes, I
them
know who
died.
you mean. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but I know exactly who you mean. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
who you
and then
mean.
last year, what happened to Sean? Sean Wooden's situation was that people turned his back on him. And I think he just kind of got disheartened, and I feel bad for him. I was talking to one lady. Her name was Miss Hernandez, and we were talking. I was hoping to do an interview with her down the road, but then she passed away. No more than maybe. I mean, it's just one thing is I said this. I keep saying this. We as a fans come see you people. We come see you. You are the package. You are the truthfully, you are the reason why bodybuilding exists. If there's no safeguards for you, what's the point of doing this sport? It should be like anything. I understand, like you still have to pay fees, stuff as even the amateur. Not counting your fees to get your card so you can compete at shows, your fees when you come to shows. Anything, if money from that should go back to helping those who compete. Because you know what? If it wasn't for ladies like yourself and many women and men who compete in the sport, what would you have? You just have a bunch of people just looking at an empty stage. And I think there should be more consideration for you. I truly believe that. Maybe I'm speaking with rose-colored glasses, but I think truthfully, the risk should be, it should be more reward than more risk.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, a lot of it is just placed on the athlete. I do get my bloods done quite regularly because I'm mindful of that. I want to make sure that I am looking after my body. But I know a lot of people who have never had their bloods done. They bury their head in the sand and they go, I'm sure it's fine. I feel fine. And you're like, yeah, but you don't know, like maybe you should go and get this, but it costs money to get my blood work done, because obviously in the UK here we have an NHS, so most of our healthcare is taken care of. However, things like having bloods done, as a bodybuilder is something that you have to do privately because, as far as the NHS and the GPs are concerned, this is something we've brought on ourselves, so it's not something that they would cover. So you're having to pay around about £200 there or thereabouts for a full plan of bloods, which you may need to do a couple of times a year. And obviously, when you've got all these other costs associated with competing, people are scrimping and going, "Oh, I won't do that," because there's nobody making them do it. It's down to them. So, like you say, there needs to be more kind of push for people to be getting these checks to make sure that they're looking after themselves. So they've got not only longevity in the sport, but a healthy life rather than dying for a trophy.
Yeah, and whatever money they can get or whatever. But like I said, truthfully, I think there should be more. Like I said again, more consideration for you athletes. You put in time, you put in work, and you deserve that. If we ever see a change, I don't know. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but lovely ladies like you should be taken care of. I think you deserve that at least. So, folks, like I said again, we're not gonna hold her much too longer. I know she's looking at the clock. I think, and she got things to do. Because it's over there. It's different times though for her. Because it's mid afternoon for us. It's like almost even time for her.
Yeah.
And and we do appreciate when I reach out to when I do my challenge about reaching out to people. I love to talk to the superstars. I would love to talk to Andrea Shaw. I love to talk to, I'm not a big fan of hers, but I will talk to her in the Tag Hill or or several others. But I love talking to people like yourself, who have your boots on the ground, 10 toes down, and you're still in the trenches. Still in the trenches. Someday you get to step up in the big dogs on the stage. Who is the person that you really follow and you really admire in the sport?
It's a difficult one because, like I say, there's so many people that I do obviously look up to, both in my own category and in other categories as well. But I always think, I always look up to people who are maybe been cast aside as being a bit of the underdog beforehand, rather than like somebody that's just sort of been catapulted. But Yeah, I mean, let me just have a think. Obviously, I think a lot of women would say this to a certain degree, but I always used to look up to the likes of Dana Lynn Bailey because she was like the first person that you kind of look at and go, when I first started getting into it and going, whoa, that's something that's impressive. That's more than just these bikini girls that I just keep seeing all the time. Like that's what I want. She looks so feminine and she's amazing and all that. So she was probably somebody that I looked up to probably first of all, I would say. And then, Sarah Villegas, I think she's amazing. I really do. I think she's got an amazing physique. And obviously, she lost the Olympia title last year and then has regained it back this year. And yeah, I just think she looks incredible. I think she's just got really, really beautiful stage presence as well.
Yeah, one thing I expect about Sarah, because what she did when Arnold pushed out Win Physique from the Arnold Classic, she, being that she's a rich man's wife, she put up, hey, I could pay for the prize money and pay for the sanction fees, but she's doing stuff like she put up money for Pittsburgh Pro. Yeah, that's like that's $20,000. She put up money for shows like Texas Pro. I mean, I was talking to one lady who's about it and said, why is she doing that? She shouldn't do that. But the fact is, she should. Why, if you can't get it from somebody inside the sport, you can't pay from somebody outside of the sport. But I think, I respect what she's doing.
Yeah.
Also, this is one more question I would ask you. As a competitor, what would you like to see change in your mindset in the sport of bodybuilding?
Just more clarity on the divisions. Really, that's the biggest thing for me. Like we discussed earlier, just because it's so hard to know where to fit. It, like, you'll get feedback one year to tell you to be more conditioned. You turn up the following year more conditioned, and then they say you need to be fuller and less conditioned. So I think there needs to be more like clarity on what they want in each of the classes and make a hard line between them, so there isn't all this blurring of are you this, are you that. It should just be, that's what I'm working to. I'm working towards physique criteria, and that is what it is. Not, oh, well, I think I might be somewhere between these two, so I'll just enter both and hope for the best. So that would be the biggest thing, I think, at this moment in time that I would like to see would be more clarity and seeing it taken forward from the discussion phase to actually seeing what they're awarding on the stage.
Yeah, I think that's it could be. I think if you're someone who looks like, okay, I'm a bodybuilder, go to bodybuilding. Physique competitor, go to physique. Go figure. Don't try to stay in a division where you're struggling. If you like, okay, someone would do say, as long as I can make the Olympia, I understand you. As long as I can make the Olympia, I can understand that. But when you start evolving, you have to move up, And if you like, judges will start placing you like, okay, you might win this show, will qualify you for the Olympia, but you come to the Olympia and you say, I see some women say like, why does this lady should be in the top 5, but she's like number 10, and this lady should be, this woman right here, she should be number 5 over in women's bodybuilding, but she's in the top in the like 6th or 7th place. But it's about what that person want to go, how they want to go. I understand that the whole debate of femininity. I understand. As a man, we're women. Like there was a book like Men for Mars, Women for Venus. I got a book called Men Are from Klingon, from Vulcan, Women Are for Klingon. So and it's just what fits for you as a person, and how you want to evolve as an athlete. But you got to understand, like the judges need to set the guidelines. They have a lot of control, and people in the higher ups should realize that it should be more. Things for you ladies, especially for women, because you know what, we come see y'all, we come see you competitors, and we just want to wish you all the best. So, anyway, folks, we have to thank the lovely Mrs. Claire Crowther for coming here.
Thank you.
And I shout out to the people come here and watching my man Leroy Kong, Bulls Deep, Curtis Jr., also many others who watch this video. Comment, subscribe, follow us. And so again, Claire's information is in the description. If you want to follow her, she's also a coach and trainer. But guys, why I gotta repeat myself? I know you saw the pictures of Claire earlier. I know we see these ladies, they all shredded, puff out. You get that little funny feeling. But no, deep. She got a kid, she got a man. Be respectful. Be like this. Be someone that say, Mrs. Carla, I would love to sponsor your next show. So if you have a plan, you want to work with us, we'll work with you. Don't be that weird guy and say, hey, Claire. Yeah, I saw you got that pretty colorful hair. I saw that pretty shiny suit. No, don't be that.
No.
Women don't want that. Women rather have a silk glove than an iron fist. And I know some guys got some ideas, but hey, but little things can help these ladies out. If you see her next time she's getting some gas, pay for her gas. You see her get some coffee, pay her some coffee. Do little things because those things help out in the long run. Support these women. They can use it. Be nice. Be friendly. I know you guys said again, you get excited by these ladies. That's why you like me to interview them. But be respectful at the same time. So, ma'am, I say thank you. I appreciate you. I hope all your best. I hope you enjoy 2025. Get to eat. Christmas is coming. Christmas time is here.
Yes.
Happiness and cheers. You can get to eat some nice cake, anything like that, and just fill up. You get fat. Then next time you'll be like, rah. You come stage, you look like you're like, wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So, hey, folks, I'd like to thank player coming through. I'd like to thank our man, Ball Steve, Leroy Kong, Curtis. Anybody watch this video, share, comment, subscribe, reach out, support these ladies in the Supported by the Bed. Support them on social media. If you're someone who's a sponsor, who genuinely have a genuine plan, don't be that guy. You know what I'm talking about, you out there. So anyway, folks, this is my always George Page, aka the Emperor of Female Body Talk. Like, subscribe. We're out. Have a good afternoon and good evening.
Thank you.
You're welcome.